I'd really like to welcome to the stage now Jacek Rotowski, who is the Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister of Poland, a big friend of this country who spent many years here. You're very, very welcome, Deputy Prime Minister. Nice to have you here.
Thank you very much. Well, it's always difficult for a deputy to follow a prime minister, but I'll do my best. Chairman, dear friends, it's a pleasure to be here. We're just a short ride away from Westminster, where I went to school, a short bus ride from UCL and the LSE, where I studied. And the reason I'm saying that is because I think it allows me to say with considerable confidence that Poland and Britain see the challenges of globalization paradoxically in very much the same way. And the subject of this meeting is how countries like the UK and like Poland, and how our businesses, led by yourselves in the case of Britain, are going to face up to those challenges. Now, at first it may seem that Poland and Britain are very different. Britain's a maritime power, home to a world language, to the world language. Poland is very much a continental European country, and a recent survey found that Polish was just about the hardest foreign language to learn in the world. Don't let me discourage you. It's really worth the effort. And yet, Poland and the UK have very much more in common than what separates them. Both countries are deeply Atlanticist. We like to think that we have our own special relationship with the United States, based, among other things, on our contribution to the American Civil War, but on the other side, not on yours. Successfully. But both countries are also regional powers. Poland, like Britain, is a first among equals. We're by far the largest of the new member states of the EU. When the Iron Curtain fell, everybody thought those satellites over there, they're all much the same. Well, today Poland is one of the EU Big Six. Our economy is 3 times the size of that of the Czech Republic, which is the second biggest. And our population is 30 times the size of Estonia. Another thing that joins us is our belief in free market principles and free trade. Maybe the reason why Poles are such free marketeers and pro-business today is the 44 years we spent under communism. I won't speak about the political repression, but I will speak about the relative economic decline that we experienced in that time. Few now remember that in 1948, Poland was richer than Spain, and we're determined to get back to that situation as soon as possible. When communism fell in 1989, Poland was the first country in the world to take the path from a planned economy to the free market. Lech Wałęsa at the time said, we're trying to learn how to turn fish soup back into an aquarium. And he's got a way with words, Lech Wałęsa. And it worked. Poland has proved the greatest success story of the transformation from communism. It's been the fastest growing economy in the whole of Europe since 1990. During 2007, 2012, when the rest of the continent was mired in recession, Poland grew by almost 20%, much faster than anyone else, not only in the EU, but also in the OECD. And to my mind, there's no doubt that a key factor in Poland's success is our dedication to economic and political freedom. That dedication allowed our small businesses to thrive, and play a key role in our economic development. And that's another thing we have in common with the United Kingdom, only even more so. Like Britain, we're a nation of shopkeepers, and I mean that in the best possible sense. Small businesses in Poland provide 68% of employment. It's 54% in the UK. And many of these are micro businesses, family-based micro businesses. These account for over 37% of employment in Poland and 21% in the UK. The resilience of these small, medium-sized firms, along with the size of our internal market, was what allowed us to be the only country in the OECD that didn't fall into recession in 2009. While the rest of the continent was falling into depression, into recession, sometimes double-dipping into recession, we were hitting growth rates of 3.9% and 4.3% in 2010, 2011. This wasn't easy to achieve. We had to tighten our belts and start reforming, and we're continuing to do that. We now have one of the lowest tax burdens in Europe. We've eliminated early retirement for 90% of the workforce and are gradually increasing the retirement age to 67. The improvement in competitiveness that we've achieved can be seen in the increase of the ratio of exports to our GDP. It's gone up from 39% in 2009 to about 49%, we estimate, this year. But we're not resting on our laurels. Our goal is to promote our exports worldwide. Until now, we've tended to export mostly to our backyard. Europe, Northern Europe, Germany, the eastern neighbors that we have. Now we're entering far-flung markets like South Africa, Canada, and Korea. And we want to continue attracting inward investment in Poland because that is very much the basis for our export drive. A recent survey of 1,623 German investors found Poland the most attractive FDI destination in Central and Eastern Europe. 94% of them said they would like to reinvest in Poland. Last year, Poland shot up 19 places in the World Bank's Doing Business survey. And we found out just last week that this year we've scaled another 10 places. We're determined to carry on improving in the future. To put it succinctly, Poland is open for business, and you're very welcome to come and do business there. Our main strength is our educated and hardworking workforce. In the German survey, Poland comes first in terms of quality of education, productivity, as well as the availability and quality of local subcontractors and qualified labor. Those of you who employ Poles in the UK, and I suspect it's most of you, will know how hardworking we are. And although there are close to 1 million Poles living in Britain, many of them contributing to your businesses, please remember there are 38 million more in Poland. But despite the similarities between the UK and Poland, some things do separate us. Unfortunately, one of the things that does seem to separate us is our increasingly different attitude to the European Union. Next May, we're going to be celebrating, and I mean celebrating, a decade in the EU. For us, in that time, we've become much, much stronger as an economy and as a democracy. Like Britain, we believe in a strong, business-friendly, and efficient European Union. But I listen to the debate that's going on in Britain. I know where it's headed, and I have to say that it worries me. It worries me very much. The EU has done a lot for business, not just in Poland, also in Britain, and the Director General has spoken about that. Of course, like any member state, we like some EU policies more than others. Take energy policy. We don't want to sacrifice our competitiveness on the altar of renewables just to satisfy the green lobby. In Warsaw, we believe that the only way to effectively manage climate policy is to improve energy efficiency, rather than focusing on the energy mix. We're glad to see London slowly, but I think surely, coming to a similar conclusion, although it's not always articulated. And we're just as enthusiastic as you are about shale gas. But despite the gripes that all member states have with Brussels, and believe me, there are many in Warsaw as much as in London, Poland is categorical. The EU is a good thing, and it would be nowhere near as good a thing without the UK. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. British business knows better than any other part of society the value of the single market and the benefits of negotiating deals as one huge European economic bloc rather than 28 small countries. Take TTIP. That's the great trade agreement with the United States with the terrible acronym. Econometric studies have shown that it's the UK economy and UK business that will make the most out of the transatlantic and investment partnership. Yet without the EU, Britain could never achieve such a deal. We'll see whether we manage to achieve it, but without the EU, it would be completely impossible. TTIP is just one example of the progress that we can make. We've just signed CETA with Canada. I think that's, we know from studies that have been undertaken on that trade between the EU and Canada is likely to achieve a 23% boost. Again, none of us could achieve that without the EU, without working together to negotiate with large world powers. Certainly, that's the case of the United States. Multilateral free trade negotiations at the WTO have hit a wall, as you know. And it's thanks to our united front that the EU member states are benefiting from ever freer trade and investment conditions with an ever wider array of economic partners. And that's vital. In the aftermath of the crisis, there will always be pressure for protectionism. But that would be the worst thing that we could do. It would be the worst thing for our business. It would be the worst thing for our societies. It would be the worst thing for our politics and the worst thing imaginable for our democracies. But fortunately, there are countries that are determined to think globally and will be able to seize the future for their own and their partners' benefit. I'm glad to say that both Poland and Britain are among them. And that's why I know that after the trauma of the last 5 years, both our countries can look with growing confidence at the steadily recovering world economy. Thank you very much, and I'll be very happy to answer questions.